Well, looks like we're live. Better get to work. Come on. Sticky tape is getting a bit old. Hey, Zoltan. This just makes it much easier to get the LEDs off. Bazar, Pedro, creature. Okay. Okay. These ones are all going to be always going to be a little less than perfect because I don't have a proper inner disc. I really should just 3D print something like that, put it in the middle. Oh well. Not a lot of point for it now. BBD test. What are BBDs? That's a new term for me. Damn it. Like an idiot, I didn't clean off the spreader. It's okay. We'll just store it on there. Getting ourselves a nice bunch of solder paste for reballing. Behavioral driven development. Oh, okay. Haven't heard of that before. Fair enough. Come on, where's my paste? What did I do with my paste? Oh, there it is. doing the ring lights is slightly more paste intensive than the USB-C meters. Hey Bodger, oh that's good, yeah. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to you, but hopefully not too long. I put my finger on it. Basil, there'll be just repair streams, like normal MacBook, PC, phone, the repair stuff. Yeah. Or there may be prototyping streams. Yeah, if I decide on a new project, new design of something. Okay, I'm going to push my luck and hope the amount of paste I've got here is going to be all I need. And it was. Alright, now we do the cleanup so that we don't have to deal with this tomorrow or the next day. Oh, don't know why my gloves have decided to do that. It's a little bit annoying. There's again plenty of solder paste wastage here. But in the grand scheme of things, it's better to waste a little bit and clean it up. Okay. It's a bit like cooking. Try to clean as you go, and you end up with a better outcome, less stress, less mistakes. Though I do have to change this glove. And there may be programming streams in the future, who knows. Sorry, my hands... You gotta dry and cool your hand down after you take that glove off, so you can put another one on. Gotcha. Okay. Hey Miles. Actually, it's been quite a while since I've seen you, Miles. Okay, let's get the vacuum pen out. Okay. Yeah, good luck with that, Miles. I don't think anyone can ever do that. I've never had much luck getting to sleep early or properly or anything. Wish I could, but it just doesn't happen. Uh-oh, we're gonna need a bunch of these. Oh wait, you're the wrong ones. These, we're gonna need a bunch of those anyway. Uh, Keep putting the wrong ones down. It's okay. I double stacked and it's fine. None of those are really required anymore. Hey, B-Blood. I'm getting weird weather up there. Not too bad. Hello, Nassim. Nah, the weather's been pretty civil here. Hot. But I mean, what do you expect from North Queensland? Even in the dead of winter, it's hot. Hey, Electro Rip. Ach, nee, man. Okay. Found its hole. Let me start the process again. Hey, locksmith. Eek. Dun, 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 dun. Oops. put that one down a little bit too aggressively. It's not really a problem if you pop it down a bit too aggressively, because when the reflow occurs it all just sorts itself out. And it's not a problem that some of these don't really have a full coverage of paste, because realistically there's too much paste on those pads anyway. What I should do with the stencil is reduce the area on those pads. Probably down to about 2/3 of what's there now. My laptop. Fine, be like that. Make me mechanically grab you out. The reason why this regulator, the big chip that I just put down, doesn't need a lot of regulation, a lot of decoupling, is because it's not a low dropout regulator, and it's a fairly robust 7805, very traditional style regulator, so they don't tend to have the oscillating issues that low dropout regulators have. So you can just put a 100 nanofarad either side and it's good to go. Whereas with LDO regulators, usually you got to put about you got to put 100 and then 1. Yeah, you got to have a little bit more decoupling capacitance either side. Otherwise, they can have a tendency to start oscillating on their own, which is not a good thing. Do you dry the paste before use? No. This is straight out of the tube and stenciled. This is paste being used as paste should be used, as opposed to when we do reballing of small chips and we drive off some of the flux. Oh boy. Jumped away from that one a little quick. Fortunately, this sort of paste and this, because it's fairly non-critical part spacings and gaps and things like that, we can get away with being less than perfect on our reflow. Like using the hot top that we are is not really the recommended way to do this sort of work. I do have an oven, I just don't ever use it for small batches like this. But an oven would be the better approach. It would result in a superior result. But like I said, because we are not dealing with really fine pitch stuff, I mean the finest pitch we got here is this LED controller, and it is fairly fine pitched, but even it manages to survive this kind of abusive process. Likewise, you're supposed to pre-dry all your components as well. No, you don't go sticking the components into the oven when there's still too much moisture in them. Things like that results in issues. Can result in issues, but for 99% of the time it's not a problem for this sort of large scale work. Like in my opinion, 402 is medium large, or we'll call it medium scale. 603 is large. 0105s are small. Hey Brads. Brad, you get into the pattern of it. Yeah. And then every now and then you make nice mistakes like that. Yeah, you get into the pattern of it, just plink, 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 playing music. It's just an aquarium, funnily enough. But they've reversed it, so instead of blowing air into the aquarium, you're connecting up to the suckage end. Let's see, what's Miles going on about? Had the same 15 Pro Max 3 times in 6 months for screen and back. Oh, seriously? Yeah, occasionally you do get people who seem to just, I don't know whether they trip or whatever, or they've actually got neurological balance disorders or something. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you get people that just keep coming back. But that said, 15 Pro, that must be costing them an absolute fortune to replace. I did some 14 Pro Maxes recently, and they were already expensive enough. I think it was about 390 I charged the person for it. I'm using high rate OLED aftermarket screens, so it's not junk that I'm putting on there. I'm not using OEM screens because of the risk of my upstream suppliers having stuff that's going to get marked as stolen, so to speak. And in terms of quality consistency, I do tend to prefer the third-party replacement screens, whereas the OEMs, because they're refurbished, I get more issues with the refurbished units than I do with the third-party. Now, it's usually like little niggly things, and yeah, I just don't like it. Right, I'll put these in the wrong kind of spot. Make it a bit difficult for me to shift them off. 680 just for the screen. Jeez. Yeah. At that kind of price, I'd start, like you, I'd just tell people, look, go to Apple, get it done by them. Because too many times there's something else that goes wrong, particularly if it's a double smash. And I mean, I know you know this. You will get the scenario where, okay, we've fixed your screen, but now we've noticed that there's an issue with one of your sensors or the flex, and the customer's going, you've already bought the screen, you fitted the screen, and the customer's going to be like, oh, I don't have any budget left to do this other bit. Why didn't you tell me before I had it fixed, etc. So it becomes a nightmare. So yeah, for a lot of them, 15s and 16s, I just pretty much tell people go to Apple, like you. Might be easier if you're doing it every day and you've got a pretty big turnover, but I don't. I tell all my friends to F off when they want to. That's a good idea. That's because they want friends rate. But if they're friends, they should actually give you more. Alright, here we go for the reflow. If they're habitual phone smashers, get AppleCare, definitely. Yeah. Certainly I think for these $1,500 phones, I would get AppleCare for at least the first 12 months, if nothing else. Yeah. That is the problem, I agree with Apple, is that, they will tend to wipe the phone. But then, why don't they have iCloud set up? So I really think that if you buy a new iPhone, you probably, and if you know you have a history of dropping them, definitely AppleCare, and absolutely iCloud. iCloud with enough space to cover your whole phone. I can't stand it when people come here and they've lost all their data's not on the iCloud, the phone's smashed to bits, and they're pleading every which way they can for me to recover the data. And it's like, you just can't. It's gone. Or when they do a lockout, oh my goodness, the number of... Now that the iOS, I think, burns the keys once that lockout occurs. And of course then the customer gets angry at you, and it's like, oh, it's not actually my fault. I'm trying to help you, but I can't. Yeah, 92. These actually reflow faster than the fiberglass circuit boards because they're aluminium and that heat just goes straight in. There's no messing around with this one. Yeah, the amount of data that people have on their phones now, they're willfully ignorant if they are not using iCloud to back up. And it's cheap. I mean, it's like $5 a month. I mean, how much is a recovery service going to cost you? 500? 100 months? That's almost 10 years worth of iCloud backup. So it's worth it. Not to mention, it effectively extends the capacity of your phone in many ways. Uh, 130, we're still a fair way off. Not that I want to be giving Apple free money, so to speak, but I think that is a pretty good service, and it works well. Yeah, it's not like you have to fight with it, and if you lose your phone, you get another phone and you basically restart from where you were before. The problem is not paying for a subscription, the problem is the availability of data on one. How do you mean by that? Because I mean most of the time I've never had any trouble with the data in terms of restoring it, so it's just real nice when someone smashed their phone and it's like properly dead or it's lost. They get a new one that just says restore from iCloud. Boom, done. So much less agony. I'm kind of curious, when it comes to Apple and data security, I think they actually go more than out of their way to not be able to have any kind of access or recovery options of your data as an actual internal policy. They really behave like they don't want to give themselves any way of recovering your data. They'll host it for you, but the way that their system seems set up, it's like if you lose your keys, even we can't get it back. Or at least it seems that way. And I think they want it that way because then there's no liability or coercing them or anything like that. So they get to wipe their hands of the situation, which is smart from a business perspective. And of course it absolves them of any thing like what you just said, which is what if somebody tries to get the data, what if somebody illegally obtains the data? But if they leave themselves with no way possible to get it, then they're they can't be pulled up on that. On the other hand, what really does grind my gears is the way in which BitLocker is appearing by default on a lot of machines, from HP and Dell, just general consumer machines, and they've got BitLocker on them. So what the hell are you doing putting BitLocker on general consumer machines like that? Particularly when 99% of the time, it seems, even though it's supposed to be stored on their Microsoft account, their BitLocker key is not backed up anywhere. Yeah, the plate needs cleaning one day. I've got several machines in here. The board has crashed, the CPU's toast, or the EFI's toast, or whatever. And we think, oh, okay, not a problem. We'll go to your Microsoft Online account. We'll get your BitLocker key, and we can plug it into the recovery box and copy your data off. Nope, no BitLocker key. So I don't know. There seems to be a bit of a weakness or an area of improvement that needs to be done with regards to when the people do set up their machines, that they ensure that the BitLocker key is sent up somewhere. And it's maddening because then the people are like, well, can't you just crack it or something like that? So I wish, but no. And a lot of people have lost a lot of their data. And it's somewhat more infuriating for the fact that it's right there on that disk, on the NVMe drive. You just can't get to it. It's not like it's a trivial key either. Oh yeah. At least you can actually do that. I will give that a thumbs up. Is the fact that you can revert from a BitLocker drive to a non-BitLocker. But yeah, as you say, it does take a few hours. It'd be nice if it just wasn't there by default. Yeah, if they came up and said, for extra security, would you like to do this? Please be sure to keep your key somewhere. Can we SMS the key to you or email? Something that makes the person aware of the fact that, okay, the data is now in a state where if I lose the key, then I've lost my data. Most people are buying these machines with the assumption that it's like the old days where, okay, if the machine dies, I can still take the drive out and get the data. So there is a education campaign gap there. Ooh, 10 base T. Good old Terminator coax stuff. Not the vampire tap stuff, but not far off either. The vampire tap, I think, was 10 base 2. Fortunately, I started in networking just after that was pretty much gone. We started when it was just the coax 10 base T. And then by the time I was getting out of the industry, pretty much everybody was converting over to 100 megabit Cat5. Hey, Mr. Norman, how you going there? Alright, let's have a look at the reflow, see how it went. On these boards, it's basically the LED controller that you got to watch. You just want to make sure there's no bridging going on there, and you want to make sure that that pin 1 is in the right direction. The bowling up is pretty normal, unfortunately. Like I said, I need to change the pads of the stencil to be smaller. Okay. The LED controller is the Cat 4104. It's a 4-channel up to 25 volt, I think. Yeah, 4-channel 25 volt, around about 700-800 milliamps maximum, something like that. And it works well for this situation. So we use all 4 channels, 7 LEDs per channel, and we're running it at 24 volts. So we're right on the cusp. Okay, programming time. What? Okay. Hmm. Okay, it's done. Okay, that one doesn't want to program at the moment, and no. It could, sometimes it's just the flux on the pad. That one's fine. Could be something else, could be a bridged contact somewhere. Okay, that one's not programming. Let's see, we're short on UPDI or 5V. $500 compared to this one. 500. Interesting. No. I think it's common anode. Actually, yeah. So it's low side control. So basically, the controller is using N-channel MOSFETs. Yeah, free soldables. You just got to knock them off and then filter them. Ah, this sucker does not want to program. Oh, there it goes. It just must have been really thick flux on there. It's the downside, of course, of using simple contacts like that rather than a proper socket. But since with this device it's essentially program once, and that's it. It's you're not going to put a socket on that. What I probably should do is just simply not paste the pads. Just leave the pads bare, and that would probably be better. All right, here we go. Blinding times. Oh man, we've got a full channel missing there. Bloody hell. Okay, that's better. It's good. Nothing. Oh, this is not a good night. 50% failure rate. The frequency is pretty high. I've pushed it right up as much as I could, because if there's one thing I can't stand is when you have PWMing that's slow, and you can actually detect it in your side vision and things like that. That just drives me insane. So I ramped it up pretty damn high. So you get a fraction more, like maybe an extra percentage of loss because of the high switching rate, but it's vastly more preferable to the alternative. Okay, 0 is good. That's good. Okay, so why is this? Okay, I think I can see why we've got that one channel there. You can see that one pad hasn't quite. So we're just going to use some hot air, heat this up, and then strike it down with the soldering iron. And that should get the fillets in there, and it'll be all good to go. Hey, Teresa. I mean, realistically, those parts are a little bit below the sort of threshold that I would consider for hand stenciling. Just a smidge. Particularly because of the nature of, like, I've got the fine pitch current sensor on the USB-C meter, but that's fine because the pins are out and not away. You're not in the inner body. Whoops, you need hot air here. Just realised there's no way I can resolder this without using hot air. Except I need some solder. Damn it. That's okay. The hot air did its job. It heated up the area. Oh yeah, I know about those Blue Pro mics. Poorly soldered USB controller chips. Sometimes things can just go horribly wrong with these processors, but the trouble is they've already made 10,000, 100,000 of them. They're not going to go back and do the rework. Did I hear my phone ping? Hell, I don't even know where my phone is. Okay, there we go. We got all four. But yeah, you can see there's no perceptible flickering or anything, even in the lowest. That's the lowest brightness that I've got. And they're really, even if I can't tell whether that's my frame rate of the camera, the shutter rate, or the flickering, but I cannot pick up any flickering. If I do, when you look at a light that's being PWM'd, and if you shutter your eyes, you can usually detect the on-off cycles. Like when I do that now, I don't know if it's like, here we go. This is going to be scary to you guys. Okay. Like if I shutter my eyes, I can't see any on-off. The PWM, it's in the hundreds of kilohertz. I think the baseline is 1 megahertz. I've forgotten, but all I know is that I picked the chip because of the fact that I had a very high PWM rate, because like I said, it drives me mad when like vehicles, cars with their brake lights or things like that, and the PWM rate is just awful. It's like, what is this, 1 kilohertz? Just disgusting. Hey Ed, shutter your eyes again. No thanks. Shouldn't have too many EMF issues. Shouldn't. Famous words, eh? It kind of helps that the board is a great big chunk of aluminium, so and effectively a massive ground plane. And there are no real inductors on here, so the lack of inductors helps a lot with preventing crazy EMF levels. because it's usually the collapsing fields in coils that tends to make things go really wild. We'll bring up the chip data sheet later. And have a look at it. I know video lights destroy amps and radios under test despite the FCC compliance. You mean like overhead studio lights? Like I've got my newer ones are terrible. I really don't like these newer lights. But I've got small rig lights and they are much nicer. But yeah, the newers I'm kind of like, yeah, you're kind of doing something a bit shonky in there somewhere. Feels like a Class D amp going crazy. They're like, yeah, let's use a Class D amp, but don't worry about the high filter. No one can hear it anyway. It's true. It makes a mess of everything. Hey, Tom Morgan. Oh, there we are. We're back. Okay, so it was just another connection. That blinking that you see is just simply to let you know, okay, we're not going any higher than this. So you don't just sit there constantly waiting for it to get brighter. You got a Nanlite Compact 24B and they throw all sorts of RF hash out. Okay, I don't know those ones. Alright, so we've got our 4 lights all up and running. What's our time? 58. Okay, that's it. We did our 1 hour of work here, and now we're done. I can go off and do other things. So that's it for me for tonight. I'm going to go do some more bug fixing and flexboard view work, things like that. Just, there's always things to do, things to improve, things for me to just check over, try and improve the user manual. No matter what you do with programming or anything in life really, you fix up one area and then that causes you to have to then go and fix up another area or update the document. Yeah, it's an ongoing process. It never stops. So I mean, it can slow down if you're lucky, but for the sort of work that flexboard view is, because it's a how could you say, the industry around it or what it's supporting tends to be changing in itself, you kind of have to change with it a fair bit. So you don't get to have your program just sit down and mature nicely. It just doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. Boost or buck driving, what? Boost or buck driving high current loads? As opposed to what creature? Linear? You would have thought linear would have been quiet. Stored 100 PCBs and I know it could be improved, but I have no time to revise. Yeah, it's like that. If it works well enough for now, go with it. Because you'll know yourself, the number of times that you go and make a tweak and you think, I'm just going to tweak this one thing, and you probably do just tweak that one thing. But every now and then you will go and you'll tweak something else just as like, oh, while I'm here, I'll just do this. You get your boards back, you build it, it doesn't work anywhere near as good, or something else is broken, and you find out it was that little tweak that you made just sort of offhand, went along and it just completely changed everything, and you're like, crap! Yeah, and there's 100 boards that go in the trash. So yes, when you have something that's stable, it's often better to stick with that. Oh right, I see what you mean, creature. So basically PWMing directly as opposed to having the supply itself come in already effectively PWM'd. I suppose that's kind of more effective if you have the appropriate filtering on the other end. But for this sort of scenario, I think we're good. But yeah, technically correct, perhaps. Okay, I'm out of here. I'll catch you all later. Thank you again for watching. I might be back tomorrow. I don't know. It's unpredictable. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Catch you later.